Chris is the author of Foundlings, Lesbian and Gay Historical Emotion Before Stonewall, and The Matter of Capital, Poetry and Crisis in the American Century. He's the co-editor with Colleen Lye of the collection After Marx, Literature, Theory, and Value in the 21st Century, and he lives in Washington, D.C. Please help me welcome Chris Nealon.
I'm going to read 2 short poems and then like a medium and then a longer poem. And this is called The Right to Exist. I've been trying to figure out which countries have the right to exist since people have been asking. The United States does not have a right to exist. I checked. Canada, nope. Britain, France, Germany, Japan, the Ming Dynasty, the Ottoman Empire, all the people whose nations and affiliations were divvied up along the lines most profitable for their colonizers. They all have the right to exist, every single person, but not their countries. Wait, though, every single person? Who stands there looking at the people around them one by one and going, oh cool, you have the right to exist. Yep, check, check, check. A sociopath, that's who. That's because the universal is not a number and it doesn't have a certificate. I think we could do an amazing job of living together, given the chance. What would be a good name for the way of living where we became universal because we let ourselves not be alone all the time? Hint, we wouldn't toil like this. What's the name of the system that prevents us from giving it a shot? I'm not going to say, because they're checking all our syllabi now. But I trust you, and I think you know. This is called Look at Me, and has a little epigraph from Bertolt Brecht. In the dark times, will there also be singing? Yes, there will also be singing about the dark times. What is the sound of a song of joy in a terrible time? Apology, analogy. What is the song that blocks the screen? Who are you when you're not scared? You know who you are. When our voices soften, who is singing? When we lift our downcast eyes. What would Paul Celan have made of Ojitos Lindos? I heard him hum it everywhere in Lisbon. What would Kevin have thought of Padam Padam? Allegory, alchemy. Anyone who's ever sobbed until they had to leave the dance floor knows the power of the hushed ferocity inside a smile. The song you forgot you loved and cringe at now still contributed to making you. Sing that one out loud. A terrible song can be a song of joy. I mean, terrible like terrible beauty, which is what will usher into being when we burn this whole thing down. Stephanie, I'm going to lower this just a tiny bit. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So this is the poem I'm going to read now. Is the first poem in this book called All About You, and it's just called I'm In. Half already living in the new way, half attached to disregarded promises. We seem to have gotten lost in the way to the club. I blame Donald. He and Mike got me into this. Making our way down the middle of an unlit street through a landscape, partly city, partly open plain. Late night party sounds from living rooms, empty lots and uncapped sewers. It's hard to tell what's occupied and what's abandoned. Adam loops around us on his bike, saying just a couple blocks. Then, look out! Dead cat. It's undecayed but plastered to a hump in the grass. Its tail curls pointedly toward an open hole. We peer down into it, but Carrie tugs my sleeve and murmurs, live dog? Pit bull, watching from the porch, no leash, no gate. I startle, but he smiles. Later at the bar, he says, yeah, I work in the Tenderloin. I'm always on the lookout for whether things are dead or alive. California seems so far away. Absently, he snaps a button on his cowboy shirt. Then he takes a candy wrapper out of his pocket and says, you should use this, nodding at the darkened door. It's a ticket, gold foil. I shine my phone light on it. Tiny iridescent lines of text flash out. He lets another button go, and I'm in. This is the work of memory. When you are about to die, go down to the well-built house of Hades. There is a spring on the right side, and standing by it, a white cypress. Do not even go near that spring. The guards will ask you what you are seeking in the darkness. Say, I am a child of earth in the starry sky. I am parched with thirst, and I am dying. Please, grant to give me water from the river. The poem about the body, and the poem above the body. The way you're in one place, and the way you're on a journey. Maybe I'm just somebody who runs errands. Before I traveled to New Orleans, I drove back home to western New York State, the land of the dead. Watery coffee in the cup holder, funeral suit in the trunk. Is it a road trip if you're alone? Chargers and Mustangs, Chargers and Mustangs. Halfway there and going 85, you're really in the headspace. That guy from Kentucky wants to mess with you, but don't take the bait. His license plate reads all nuts. Starting out from Washington was slow. I caught the scent of marshland in a tiny paradise near EWI. But paradise for what? A doe. You see one flash behind the trees, all that muscle built from chomping leaves. And at the marsh's center, nowhere you could step, you'd have to melt or somersault into another form. Traffic picks up, bam, it's Pennsylvania. Back at the bar, we've made it to the other side. Yeji's singing Rain Girl. The documentarians are draped on couches and snuggling in love seats. They don't seem to hang out with the feature people. There's a lot of pirates in here and medieval whites and balls and stripper costumes. Wait, how do you dress like a... PJ and I agree that jumpsuits are hot, but why? Telena, body-length zippers, hello. The couches are velvet, and the walls deep red. Donald and I start comparing notes on that Twin Peaks reboot. I was grossed out by the whole time loop thing at the end. It just felt like Lynch not owning up to his manichaeism. And hadn't we reached peak Dead Girl? Sorry. Criticism creeping into poetry. Does Vivaldo tell Ida in another country, I'm just a fucked up group of people. I'm a two-part person, writing out of incompatible moods. It's planning to rock now, with passerine agility, the living and the dead gavotte from room to room. I feel low to the ground, but peopled. The disaster has already happened, and everyone knows it will come again. I turn to Adam and I ask him, so do you like it here? He grins at me and says, it's the best place on earth. God, church. I grew up in this sanctuary, straining to hear a sound. It was Vatican II with Operation Rescue. When my dad couldn't drive anymore, my mother would take us to Burger King for an hour and make up a homily afterwards. But I love my Uncle Art, and I'm glad to have something to offer. Brothers and sisters, it begins. We know that if our earthly dwelling, a tent, should be destroyed, we have another building, a dwelling not made with hands. Paul moved around a lot. On Google Maps, it looks like it would take you 18 hours to get from Corinth to Ephesus. This route has tolls. Oh, I feel bad that I edited his letter. Let me put the God back in. Looking down at the assembled, I can see the front door open. To see the light is almost to walk down the aisle. I could so easily have been that priest after services on some broad lawn in a summer breeze, thinking with satisfaction how the Lord moved the birches. But I'm on the road back home. It's not the flooding, is it? Or the fires. It's not the mass extinction. It's what kind of struggle will this be? And what will we become? What I mean is, will the terminal pressure on the way the rich make us make value pit us all against each other? Also, will we mutate fast enough? The Goldilocks in me is always trying to imagine a remediated future where everything is just the right price. The Christian wears me down by always asking me to poke through the material world. I've driven myself half crazy, thinking I can sift out what's the redemptive part and what's the hell. But not tonight. Outside, through the door, behind the door, a zombie's buying barbecue for 20 girls in firefighter costumes. Between two DJ sets, you can hear the karaoke down the street. It's like there's no pure silence. My fears are talking smack about my dreams, but I'm not listening. I have been to lots of parties in expensive capitals and God-forsaken little towns. I have found myself at the impossible point where the cyclone meets the counter-cyclone. Have you ever had that feeling where there's just about no difference between being ready to dance and ready to go to the wall? When those chords break through, I know that I am not a two-part person, and neither are you. You are something unforeseeable, something that sings. Oh, my friends, it's going down, and we may not survive, but liberation beckons in all things. So I'll close out with this last poem. It's a little bit longer like that one. It's dedicated to a teacher, one of my very first teachers, the poet Louise Glick, who died last October, and it's called Wordless Music. Let's see if I can do this. Dark nights when you hunger for company. Darker nights when you can't bear it. The sun going down casts you a worried backward glance. You split the difference and take a seat at the bar. This city, you know, but not that well, appearing in the form of a smiling, what do we have? a ham sandwich and some eye contact. Thank you. You fare better. Banter. Winter undims a little in the warmth, sweeter somehow when it's fleeting. I can hear myself talking, laughing at his replies. Notice the flicker on his face when I grope for a word. That again. I remember being on a westbound flight and straining after Molly Ringwald. What was that, 20 years ago? First thin crack in the wall. Well, he's flirty still, but I feel that pull toward the outermost, back to where we came from, each small wavering now passage to some childhood before childhood, shot through with loneliness, but also like going home, pinpricks in the dark box until there's nothing left but light. Wait, did he just ask me to text him? It makes me think of you, or a line of yours. Life is very weird, no matter how it ends, which always made me smile. I wish I could ask you about it, but I just get the check. It's okay, Dad, I tell the sun, though it can't hear me. Night's on duty. It's got me covered. Are you always a child when you're reading? Deep in the philosophical arcana, running along the surface of the driest report, a kind of novel, always there. A lone druid forges a magical talisman to destroy the warlock lord, which kind of remains my definition of plot. Like that moment in the Golden Bowl when it dawns on mousy little Maggie Verber that Charlotte and Amerigo are running around behind her back, and you can start to feel her go, oh, hell no. I was like, oh shit, she's got the sword of Shannara. I was living a boy's adventure tale. I thought you had to build whole worlds if you wanted to feel that tremor. Mountain ranges, talismans. But then I heard your voice. And all those characters whose features I imagined, those powers I dreamt of wielding. It was like I'd never heard anyone say I before. Swift sword running through me. The star, the fire, the fury. Poetry. It was the world. So how could you ever be gone? That shudder when there's no one to console you. You used to be able to stare it down. Now it brings its cousins. I think we're calling them midnights. I light a candle and they blow it out. Childlike laughter in the dark. I feel its lure, giving up on living, sinking into what? A deep blue velvet love seat. No more feeling lonely, looking at the envelope around the earth. But living is not to me yet. In twos and threes, boldly swinging their shirts, the athletes stroll away. Impassioned maidens, beautiful boys. Sometimes, yes, the sky divides. Sometimes the current carries you. I was in transit when you died. I've been in transit since. My racing train made morning flicker over marshland, Venus peeking through October branches. Now the young gods swirl around me in a waning afternoon. Atomic movement through the plaza, clatter on stones. And skateboards make a murmuration. One boy tries to film another, rolling in parallel, but he tumbles off and drops his phone. I'm calling them boys, but some of them are 40. Sorry, Barcelona. I am Grecian earning you. It's just that I never wanted to leave. shadows of the plane trees, evening clouds along the Colserola, immaterial surround that made the place a place to me. The boys do volleys on the former Conway. Janet Cardiff wired Thomas Tallis' 40-part motet to 40 separate speakers in there 15 years ago, so you could move around inside the music. She called it architecture, and it did make space. I remember weeping in that space, or for what I can't recall. Maybe for the way a fading sound revealed another sound and handed off the melody. Maybe for the way a music made entirely of words, once you stepped inside it, made a wordless music. The blankness of the sky, not blank, not even silent. It shifts, it murmurs, seeks, and finds, but I've refused to listen. Poetry, apologies, I've been suppressing you like a hedge. Gambling, you bounce back when I have time. Save it for later, save it for later, and you'll never grow old. Late life bounty, no frost at midnight for me. I'd been trying my hand at philosophy, promising to clean my room. So much effort in the name of what? I read the negative and picture the air behind the bird. I hear the cry of existentialism, but mostly I think it just needs a hand in its hair. So greedy, thinking parsimony would reward me, like words were coins or murmurs weren't words, while even the impassive sky was calling me you, saying, don't delay. Flickers, breezes, the spot on the bows, in the air, in my debility. Emptiness, emptiness. You were the music I heard. On the city-facing slope of Montjuic, at a table in the cafe of the Miro Museum, Nico is absorbed in drawing. I lean over his pad and note with admiration that a face on one page looks like a face from the galleries. That's your world, he says. 12. So judgy. But I remember that. Back in Washington, wandering around solid state books to get my head out of a novel I love too much. After years of useful narrowing in my opinions of poetry, I confront the bookshelf and feel a sudden terror that maybe they're all good. I suppose that after death, even the worst line from the worst one would be, can you tell me? No. I used to fear your judgments, though they were never harsh, just clear, which is how you were with people, mostly. I remember you telling me discovering the zodiac had given you room to be more forgiving, like, oh, of course she's always late, she's a Gemini. Well, I wandered far from you. I came to love so many things you never would. Late night dancing with the avant-garde. But you relished my reports. At your memorial, John Lyman said you had this rare quality, which was to look directly into someone's eyes while you were laughing. And I realized he was right. I could see you just like that. Your face relaying, look at me, I see you. And we're looking through each other, aren't we? Through, like, via. Even so much later, hunching like a college kid over my notebook, still furious, serious, full of pride in my discoveries. Mine. That's your world, you say. What came for you will come for me. These endless faces in the airport, their synthetic pullovers, and the bright, clean architecture, vaulted ceilings, perforated surfaces, perfect acoustics, sparrows here and there, looks like Starfleet Academy, and it will long outlive me. So too will that ratio between the living and the profitable take away the light jazz, and it's a detention space. I know it doesn't sound like it, but I finally let go of that apocalyptic feeling. That's the ego. That's the animal in its crouch. I just feel grief for likely futures. War, plague, or both. The population reset, technological leap once it's cheap enough. Not one tiny advance in humanness. These faces lined on benches, saying everything, withholding more. I think it's why I set so many poems in airports. I have a thing for lingo. One nun turns to another and says, I used to be way more low churchy. Me too. But nowadays, now I've fallen into homely, comely comedy, divine. Clinging to my illusions, even as the cosmos, smiling on me, lets me know they're all just partial truths. I tell you this because no one understood the ego better than you. You taught me not to curse it. And the part of me that came out puckish, pugilistic, call it the Aries in me, the part that knows there's nothing better than a poem for giving the finger to the masters of the universe, that part gives me love. But the Pisces, the undertow, the part that takes what's heard and sings it back forever after, in the key of dedication, helplessly saying, hush, beloved, like the sea. To who? The gods? Each other? That part was for you, Louise. Thanks, everybody.